Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I just want to give you a quick rundown of what my goals and aspirations are with this channel and kind of give you an idea of what we want to accomplish and what I would like to see moving forward. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube related to the automotive community, a lot of really good stuff out there, and I figured I had a voice to be said and I wanted to be included in that. So started an idea, and I think I'm going to move forward with it. So kind of give you a rundown of some of the stuff I'm working on and that you'll be kind of expecting to see coming through this channel. First off, the first video series I'm going to come up with is working on my 1996 Ford Mustang V6. So I bought the car a little over a year and a half ago to be my daily driver, and of course I can't leave well enough alone. The motor spun a bearing, so I did a 4.2 and split port swap on the car. So it definitely has a little more pep than from factory. I still need to get a tune done to it, and I do need to put bigger injectors in it. But with the injectors I have in there, the check engine light's off about half the time. I'm getting ready to do a suspension rebuild and do an 8.8 swap on the rear, lowering springs, completely rebuild the suspension, tubular rear control arms, brand new Moog front control arms, KYB shocks and adjustable shocks and struts. So you'll see the videos on that here shortly. I'm planning on starting that here in just a couple of days. Some of the other things I've got in the works that have been sitting in my garage quite a long time that I want to get started on. Big one is my first car I ever bought, 1973 Mercury Comet. Need to do pretty much a full restoration on the car. It's got a lot of rust. Not a lot of rust, but enough rust in it that I didn't want to drive it anymore. I've done a engine swap on that car also. It started out life with a 200 straight 6. Swapped in, at this point, 351 Windsor and a 3-speed manual trans, started life out in the automatic. I do have a 4-speed for it, swapped in a 9-inch out of a Granada. That 9-inch also has disc brakes on it. I did put a mini spool in it, but I think we're going to go a different route down the line and put a locker in the rear. I've got my grandfather's 1936 Studebaker Dictator 4-door that I don't have an exact plan on what I want to do in that car yet. I've toyed with leaving it stock, but then you start checking prices and it costs too much to restore it to stock, and the car's only worth 10 grand fully restored. Thought about, so I'm pretty set on doing some sort of a resto mod. I've toyed with chopping the back of it off, scooting it forward, and building a 5-window out of the car, which in 1936 Studebaker never built a 5-window. But we'll kind of see which direction I decide to go on that car. I've got a 1970 Buick Wildcat Convertible, which is my current driving old car that I take to car shows. It is an unrestored driver. It needs a new top, which I have, which I plan on installing this spring. So you'll kind of get a rundown of, me figuring out how to install a convertible top on a vintage vehicle. It currently needs a little bit of work. The motor leaks. I think I need to rebuild the carburetor on it again. It's been about 4 years since I rebuilt it, and it's having a hard time starting again. So I think I'm going to end up rebuilding it this spring. I'm planning on selling that car, I believe, sometime probably this year. Haven't fully decided yet or not, but I think summer is probably the best time to sell it. Big old convertible car, good time to sell is the summertime. I want to sell it so I can buy some shop equipment like a lift, maybe a press, English wheel, good welder, stuff like that to make my shop, my garage work better and help it, make it easier for me to restore a car in my garage. I've also, some of the other stuff I got going on, I'm currently parting out a 95 half-ton Suburban that I'm using for parts for my 3/4-ton 95 Suburban. The engine in the Suburban itself, in my 95 3/4-ton, is really tired, and I'm wanting to swap the motor out of the other Suburban into mine. I'm also looking at doing a manual transmission conversion on that truck. So we'll see how that goes. That's kind of on the list of stuff to do probably sometime this spring. The other things I want to do on this channel is I've got some friends. We all work on cars. We're all doing stuff. One friend currently has a 1987 Subaru XT. He got it from my dad, who got it in the early 2000s, put a clutch in it, but never could get it to pass emissions, so he never ended up driving it. Well, the car is old enough now, you can put a vintage vehicle plate on it here in Utah and be able to run it without doing an emissions test on it. So he's putting that car back on the road. So far he's got it running, It had the factory air struts underneath it still, which were dead. They're all flat, holes in them, so they will not hold air. So he's currently swapping in coilovers on that car. We're also doing a 5-lug swap on that car, so that way it's easier to put wheels and tires on. It doesn't have that really big 80s Subaru wheel pattern on it anymore. Got another friend who has a 2006 Mazda Miata. We swapped a 2.5 into it after it spun a bearing. Factory motors 2.0. He's also got a long-term project he's had forever, 1962 Falcon, 2-door Falcon. We're doing putting a 250 straight 6 in it with a T5. Has an 8-inch rear in it. Should be a pretty fun car when it's up and running. So that's kind of just give you kind of an idea, kind of the stuff that I'm working on, kind of the stuff that me and my friends are playing with, and kind of a direction I want to go. This channel is all about doing things to cars, modding cars on kind of the less expensive range. I'm not just going out and buying a whole bunch of expensive parts and just throwing a car together. Do a lot of junkyard trips, do a lot of research online. I get online and I will look through forums, look through posts, look through whatever I can find to see what I can do to make something work. I was able to find a good example on my Mustang. After I got the 4.2 swapped into it, it had the 4.2 injectors in it still, which were, I think, 19-pound injectors, 21-pound injectors, somewhere in there. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was causing the computer to say, hey, the O2 or the catalytic converters aren't working because it was dumping too much fuel in, because the computer is not tuned for those heavier injectors. So I was able to find online some information on what injectors, part number, had something that would work with the swap that I could get to be able to get the check engine light to come off to pass emissions. The check engine light stays off most of the time. I do think I have a catalytic converter going bad. I do plan on that Mustang to put in some long tube headers, some aftermarket high flow catalytic converters, and then I picked up a catback system off of I think it was a 2001 GT convertible at the junkyard for like 60 bucks. It's a MagnaFlow system. I was pretty excited to find it. I'm going to adapt that into my Mustang. Should have a pretty nice sound after I'm done. We're looking at getting into autocross, rallycross, doing some stuff like that. Going to car shows, going to swap meets. So just kind of follow along. If you like what you're hearing and you kind of like what I might be throwing down, why don't you hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you can see when I post something up, and come along with me. It should be a fun journey. Hey, thanks for watching.